This is WeatherScope.
Here's an extreme look at the extreme games in Crested Butte, Colorado. Snowmobile races, snowboard races, and ice climbing. And the Weather Channel's very own Jim Cantori is there enjoying the fun. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Kim Perez.
And I'm Paul Emick. You just saw a video from Colorado where cold is part of the fun. But in Connecticut, cold is what's keeping the ice on the ground. An ice storm a bit earlier this week has people in New Haven slipping and sliding, walking around with baby steps here. Look at this. This is a mess. This storm left. There's a box just blowing around on the ice there. Thousands of people still without power, though. Crews working around the clock, doing the best to try and get lights and all the power back on. But it is a mess. There is no good way to learn how to walk on ice. That is just tough, problematic. Still some freezing rain tonight, but not as widespread or in as great quantities as what we saw throughout the earlier part of the week and even last weekend. Still some snow coming down, though, into parts of New York State and to parts of Connecticut. We're dealing with maybe a little rain, a few showers. That's about it. If we do expect to see anything tonight, it might be maybe a stray flake. Rain, though, has been hugging the coast around Philadelphia. West of there, toward Pittsburgh, it's been all snow. Erie, Johnstown reporting it presently, and throughout New York State. That's where we expect to see it. Now to the question, we might see just a little sprinkle or two around Hartford or somewhere across Connecticut. Kind of rain along the coast here, away from Philadelphia throughout most of Jersey. It's rain, even toward D.C. But some snow pretty much from here, north and west. In this direction, around Rochester, Elmira, even toward Niagara Falls, New York, light snow. Around Lancaster and Harrisburg and Middletown, it's rain. But as you move westward toward Pittsburgh, still quite snowy. Now, around Cleveland now, reporting some freezing rain around Youngstown with some light snow around Cleveland. Around one of the airports there, too, in your county airports, you're still seeing some very, very light snowfall. Northern parts of Michigan, even Pellston with some snow. UP and Michigan, of course, you're used to it, but Marquette reporting a bit now. And in Wisconsin, around Green Bay, also La Crosse with some flakes. Don't expect it to amount to too much in Wisconsin, very light, maybe 1 to 3 inches for the UP, and throughout this range, too, very, very light. This front didn't do much as far as bringing active weather, but it did help to change the temps, including a cool 22 to Green Bay and 15 around Minneapolis. Let's shift gears and look westward. With that, here's Kim Perez.
Thanks, Paul. Well, looking over to the western part of the nation, there's plenty of snow in Colorado, perfect for the slopes. And in Crested Butte, it seems there are few complaints.
Sweet. Awesome. This is way awesome. Coolest thing I've ever seen. It's great.
Well, that's what we like. Happy skiers hanging out by the slopes at ESPN's Extreme Winter Games. Residents of Crested Butte say they haven't seen so many people in their town before. Well, good for you. Definitely looking like a lot of fun and some more snowfall. And we think that it'll be tapering off. We're already starting to see that a little bit here. Most of the moisture now moving off to the east. We still have some snow left, though. We'll see it off and on through tonight and tomorrow. We do still have winter storm warnings out for many areas here in Colorado and in Wyoming. And it's not just because of the snowfall, but because of the winds. We've had winds gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour, even in northern New Mexico. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains, for sure, seeing winds gusting over 40 miles per hour. Even the Sandia Manzano Mountains here, just north of Albuquerque, looking at winds gusting that high. So winds will be blowing that snow around. We'll see some drifting snow, too. So that could be causing some problems, for sure, on the roadways. Farther west, here's our storm. Well, the warm front, anyway, heading northward. And this really is a classic. I mean, you could just pick out the cold front here and the warm front coming onshore. And there's a little bit of rain with it. Not a lot, actually. You would think more rain with this warm front. But most of the precipitation is off here to the west with our cold front. And that will eventually be coming in tomorrow. Now, the front is starting to weaken across Colorado and Utah. So we'll see the snow weakening, and we are seeing that here. Denver, no snow for you. Downsloping winds. Actually not a bad day at all. 40 degrees right now. 50 degrees earlier. Salt Lake broke a record. 39 right now. I believe the temperature was 56 for a record high today. Now, we talked about that storm off the west. Here it is. And eventually we'll get to the coast, but for right now it is just some light precipitation heading towards Portland, and we can expect that to continue probably through tomorrow. That's a look at the west. What about El Nino, Paul?
In our El Nino focus tonight, we look at how scientists use the past to predict weather trends during El Nino years. Janetta Jones has details.
During the spring of 1991, research scientists at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory saw signs of a developing El Nino. Sea surface temperature models showed a definite warming of Pacific Ocean waters. This was the first time an El Nino had been predicted, but scientists couldn't predict how it would impact North America. In December of '91, tornadoes, hail, high winds, and excessive rain hit the state of Texas hard. The stormy pattern lasted for almost 3 months. Major flooding stretched from West Texas to the southern Gulf Coast. Many rivers flowed out of their banks. Quickly rising waters turned roads and streets into death traps. In California, a 6-year drought finally came to an end during February 1992. It rained for nearly 2 weeks. Los Angeles was inundated. Mudslides swept away hillside homes. Floods turned highways into raging rivers. Unfortunately, 11 people were killed. This was the only major rain event in Southern California during the 91-92 El Nino. El Nino's impact on the 1992 hurricane season was undeniable. There were only 5 named storms. An average season has 10. A low number of storms in the Atlantic is typical during an El Nino year. However, El Nino has no impact on a storm's intensity.
1992, for example, we had Hurricane Andrew. Andrew was the only hurricane that year that had any strength to mount to anything at all, and yet that was the most devastating hurricane, did the most damage anyway, of any hurricane that ever struck the United States.
Andrew hit South Florida in late August with a second landfall in Louisiana. Damage totaled $25 billion, the biggest natural disaster in U.S. history. Janetta Jones, The Weather Channel.
You can catch El Nino Focus each and every night here at the Weather Channel during WeatherScope. You can also catch the forecast. Let's do that catching right now with Sunday. Here's Kim Perez.
Thanks, Paul. Sunday, date ahead to the grocery store, maybe. A lot of people like to avoid the crowds. Sometimes it can be pretty crowded here Sunday. But not bad if you have to head out on the East Coast. Not bad at all. Even in the southeast with a front coming through, we're not looking at any precipitation with it. But as the warm front approaches with this low, watch out for the rain developing here in Little Rock, Memphis, and eventually into Nashville and Huntsville. Atlanta, you're going to be okay Sunday. Actually, did turn out to be a bad day at all Saturday afternoon. And Sunday, we'll see the clouds increasing, the rain towards the p.m. Now, for the west, this is when the front comes in, and we're going to see the winds picking up all day tomorrow along the coast. Winds gusting over 50 miles per hour, a possibility here. Not a lot of rain to begin with, but once the cold front approaches, we'll see rain picking up. 40s for Dallas for your lows Sunday morning, so you really won't need the winter weather gear, but you still may need it in the upper Midwest.
That's true. A little light snow around, blanketing some areas of the country, while rain dominates others. Are you going to be affected?
Well, look at